Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to go over week 3, day 1 of your morning work. Some of it will be a little bit of review from last week. There are some new boxes on this week, so we're going to talk about them. And then later this week, you're going to have a quiz over the new kinds of boxes, and you'll complete some activities on your own and get to grade your own again. The first 2 boxes on this week's morning work are story problems. Let me get my pencil up here. So anytime in 3rd grade we are doing story problems, I want you to read the problem first. Then think about how you can work the problem out, and I want you to always write a number sentence for your problem. So number 1 says, Alexa has 15 books. Her mother gives her 7 more. How many books does Alexa have now? We use something called cubes in 3rd grade. And in cubes, it's just the word cubes, and it won't write on my screen over here, so we'll write here. And then I'll erase it. So the C stands for circling the numbers in the story problem. So we're going to circle the 15, make sure you can still read the number when you circle it. That just helps you pay more attention to the numbers that are there and take more notes on the numbers. So we have 15 and 7, and the U stands for underline. We're going to underline any words that will help us figure out what math problem we need to do. If I am getting more, and it says how many now, so she's getting more, someone's giving her more, and she wants to know how many she has now. That tells me that I'm going to be adding. So it's going to be an addition problem. Now the B stands for box. We're going to box the question. How many books does Alexa have now? And that's important because Alexa is who they're asking about up here, not here. This is her mother gives her 7 more. So I want to make sure I'm focusing on the question they are asking, and putting a box around it makes me notice what the question is, and it will let me know that you've worked and looked through and really thought about the problem. The E in cubes stands for extra information. If there's any extra information that you don't know, you're just going to exit out. And we won't worry about the E too much here at the beginning. That's a little bit harder problem, throwing in some extra information. So we don't have any extra information there. The S stands for show your work and work out the problem and solve. Show your work and solve. So Alexa has 15 books. My problem is 15. And her mother gives her 7 more. So I'm adding 7 more. And when I work out problems, unless it's a basic 1 digit plus 1 digit, I want to write it going up and down. And I want to make sure my ones line up. So that way, if I need to carry anything, I can do that. 5 plus 7 is 12, and I carry my 1 over here, and I have 22. Now, it is a story problem, so there's one more thing I need to do. I need to make sure my answer has 2 parts, a number and a label. What were they asking about? If I go back to my box, how many books? So she has 22 books. That's where I can always find my label, is in the question. What are they asking about? Okay. Now let's go to number 2 is a story problem. I want you to see if you can do number 2. I want you to see if you can follow the cubes by circling and underlining and boxing those things that you need to. And show me a number sentence and come up with an answer. What does gives away mean? Gives away means I'm going to subtract. And my question asks, how many cards does Jack have left? So cards is going to be my word for my label. And also have left is a big clue word for subtraction. So Jack has 23 cards. He gives 5 away. 23 minus 5. I might have to borrow unless I can count backwards, and we haven't done borrowing, so we're just going to use a number grid. You can use a number grid and count backwards 5 from 23, or you can count backwards 5 on your fingers, or you can draw a picture. 25 minus 23 minus 5 is 18. He has 18 cards. So I want you to work really hard. Story problems are a big part of 3rd grade. We'll be doing a lot of story problems, so work real hard on those. Box number 3 is even and odd. Think about what an even number is. Do you remember from 2nd grade? 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. If 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 is in the ones place, it's going to be even. If the ones place has a 1, 3, 5, or 7, or 9, it's going to be odd. So 2 is an even number. Another way you can tell is if you take that number and you make dots. If I make 2 dots, they both have a pair. I can match them up. They're even. If I make 7 dots and match them up with partners, do they all have a partner? No, this one doesn't have a partner, so this is odd. Have you ever heard of the odd man out? That's how that came about, odd. Okay, and number 5, if we do our matching up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one has a match. This one has a match. Uh-oh, this one doesn't have a match, so it's odd. Very good. Okay, even and odd. And only, even if you have a bigger number like 231, you still just look at the ones column. That number is odd because 1 is an odd number. Okay, the next box, 4, is expanded form. We worked on this last week a lot. And remember, when we use expanded form, we are stretching out our number. 324 is 324. It's going to help us understand our place value. And then we have in box number 5, standard form. Remember, standard form is just writing the number. 7 hundreds, 3 tens, and 4 ones. 734, because 3 tens is actually 10, 20, 30. 100 plus 5 tens is 100. And 5 tens, which is actually not just 1 5, 5 tens is really 50. So it's 150. Number 6 and 7, we're filling in some missing numbers, and these are patterns, boys and girls. You have to look at the numbers they give you. They're giving you 5, 10, 15, 20. What's going to come next? I see that they're going by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, and it matches up with 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95. What's after 95, boys and girls? That's right, 100. Okay, the other box is 10, 20, 50, 60. It looks like they're going by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160. Very good. Box number 8 and 9 and 10 have this word in it. This word is also a vocabulary word on our spelling list this week. It is the word partition. You don't have to know how to spell that word, but you do need to know how, or you do need to recognize it and know what it means to do. Partition the following rectangle into 2 rows and 3 columns. That just means to cut it up, split it up, divide it up. Partition 2 rows. So I'm going to make 2 rows. And if I draw 1 line, I will have 2 rows. It doesn't mean 2 lines. It means make 2 rows. 1, 2. And 3 columns. And I want to try to make them as equal as I can. I don't want to have a real tiny little skinny one over here and a big one over here. I want to try to make them close, okay? So I'm just cutting it up into 2 rows and 3 columns. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections. That's all you have to do. Number 9 says partition the following rectangle into 3 rows and 3 columns. So I have to make these rows a little bit skinnier to fit 3, about the same. And then it's about the same this way up and down. And I'm all done with that box. Number 10 also says partition, but it is doing circles. Now, circles are a little different. Circles, when we cut them in half, the first one says partition the first circle into halves. That means just cut it in half. You could cut it in half this way. Or you could cut it in half this way. And the second part says partition the second circle into fourths. Fourths means just like what you hear, 4 parts. So you want to go through the half, through the middle there, and through the middle there like a window. And you have 4 parts. Okay? Now, box 11, you're measuring, I think there's 11. You're measuring in 11 and 12, and they already have the ruler there, so you're just looking at the ruler. It does say to the nearest inch, so you're not going to count these little parts in here. You're going to look and see what the closest number, whole number is. And I can see this is closer if I pull it down here to the 3 than the 4, so I'm going to put a 3 in there. Same thing over here. I have 2 and I have 3 that it's between, and it's closest to the 2. So it is 2 inches. And then the last one is another story problem. It's on about measuring though. And it says Jason measures 2 pieces of string. String A measures 58 centimeters. String B is 28 centimeters longer than string A. How long is string B? So I could draw a picture for this. I can draw string A, and it is 58 centimeters. I'm going to put a 58 right down here just to label it. I'm going to make it a little bit longer. And then string B is over here, and string B, I'm going to put it down here. String B is longer than A, so I'm going to make it the 58. And then I'm going to go even farther. How much longer is it? It is 28. And remember, I'm circling my numbers so I can keep track of them where they are. String B is 28 centimeters longer. So from here out is 28. How can I find out how long my whole string B is? The whole thing. That's right. I can add my numbers together. Now, those numbers are 2-digit numbers, so I want to go up here somewhere on my paper and add them up and down. Write them lined up right underneath each other. Line up the ones place. That way, if I need to carry some numbers I can do that. 8 plus 8 is 16. I'm going to put my 6 down there and carry that 1 up there. 5 and 1 is 6, and 2 more is 8. So that string B is 86, and I need a word or a label, and I'm just going to put a cm after it for centimeters. And that ends our math part of morning work. Now for our language arts part, we have a new part here. We're not looking at sentences this week. We are talking about complete subjects, and subject is also a spelling word, a vocabulary word. You don't have to spell it, but you need to know what it means. And one of those reasons is you're going to see it on papers and activities that we do in 3rd grade, so you need to be familiar with it. It's asking you to circle the complete subject, and we talked about nouns last week. A noun names a person, place, or thing, or an animal, or even an idea, which those things are also things. So in our sentences, we have to have a noun in every sentence. Some kind of noun, maybe a pronoun, maybe a noun, but some person, place, or thing. And the subject is who the sentence is about. And it always has a noun in it or a pronoun. My father will bake a cake for my birthday party. Who or what is this sentence about? The sentence is about my father. Now later this week or later today, we're going to be learning about verbs. And if you can find the verb in a sentence, you can easily find the subject, because the subject is always right before the verb. Anything before the verb. So we have our subject circled in that sentence. Number 15 is about sentences. We know a sentence has to have a capital letter and an end mark, and it has to make sense, and it has to have a subject and a predicate, a noun and a verb. So wearing shoes to school, is that a sentence? Is it a good sentence that makes sense? Wearing shoes to school. Do we know who is wearing shoes to school? I don't think we know that. I don't think it completely tells us a sentence. So it is not a complete sentence. It is called a fragment. Your choices here will be complete or fragment. Fragment just means it's part of a sentence. It is not a complete sentence. Okay? Now, I know some people had some difficulty with the words down here this week, and that's okay. As long as you're making a word, sometimes it can be really hard to figure out. Sometimes you have to really think to make a word with the letters that are there. So I'm just going to go through these, and sometimes it can make more than one. For example, the first one is P blank T. I could make that pot. I could make it pat. I could make it pit. Or I can make it pet. I think any vowel would fit in there. I can also make it put. All of those are words. You can just choose one to make a word and then say it in your head to yourself, because we're just practicing a little phonics down here and sight words. This one could be end or it could be and. This one could be dots. Another. Well. Large. Must. Big or bug or bag or beg. Even. And this is a tough one. Such. Sometimes there are some really tough ones and we need a little help. It's okay to ask for help. Maybe if you're having help, you could say, hey, Mom, can you tell me the word and I'll spell it and figure out which letter it's missing? That's okay too. And then the last box this week is having you unscramble some sight words. Some of these are a little tricky too this week. We have to really look at this one. It has an L, a T, an I, a U, and an N. And I know that is until. It won't be long until we figure that out. And then we have side. And feet. Just easy little words that we're working on spelling and recognizing as we read. And that is the end of our morning work.